Hi, thanks for joining me to talk about endocrine disruptors today. And you might be thinking, what in the world is an endocrine disruptor? And what it is actually just a fancy way to say it's something that messes up or screws up your hormones. And so endocrine means hormones, disruptor means gets in the way, disrupts them, messes them up. And so we are talking about things that they put in cosmetics, cleaning products, soaps, shampoos, personal items, deodorants, all that kind of stuff that actually have a negative effect on your hormones. And I see so many people that have hormone problems. And you may be thinking, well, that's like estrogen, testosterone, those are hormones, but so are thyroid hormones, so are insulin, and some other hormones like leptin that affect if you're gaining weight and things like that, and how your blood sugar behaves, cortisol, your stress hormone, all of those things are hormones. Hormones really kind of make the world go round, and when they're not in balance, lots of bad things happen. And so I thought, since we're talking about so many hormonal issues here in Thrive Chiropractic and Functional Health world, that I wanted to talk about some of the things that can mess them up. I see a lot of women. This is particularly important for women who are struggling with menstrual issues, things like heavy bleeding, and what is like an estrogen dominant pattern, if you will, where it feels like they have too much estrogen. Their periods are really horrific. They're really long. They're heavy, things like that. And we're going to talk about endometriosis next week. And so that's, something that stems from this estrogen dominant situation. But a lot of times I test people's hormones, and they come to me, and what they're telling me and what we see on testing is that they have this estrogen dominant pattern, or their hormones are out of balance. And the first thing that we want to know is, why is that happening? Because we can do things to balance it. On the therapeutic side, we can use things that help their liver clear hormones better, and we can use things that bind up these extra estrogens, and we can work on their digestion so they can eliminate these things the way they should. And those are all really good things to do. But at the end of the day, we also need to ask the question, where are these nasty things coming from? So the first thing that we need to say is that they are abundant in the beauty care and cosmetic world. Is the big place. And the big one I want to hit on here is something called a paraben. And you'll see it show up in an ingredient list on cosmetics as a propylparaben, a methylparaben, so and so paraben at the end. And what they do is they make the lotion or the makeup or the whatever, they make it feel better. That's why they're used in there. They emulsify things, make them easier to spread all over your face or your body or things like that. But they're also known to screw up and mess with your hormones. And they can function like an outside form of estrogen. That's why they're so bad for people who are having these types of things like estrogen dominant situations. So that's one of the biggest things you can do, is you start just reading ingredients and looking for parabens and things like that. You can also download, I use my phone, and there's an app on there called Yuka, Yuka. I'll put the link in the chat right now, Yuka app. And it's free. You can download the free version, or I have a paid version. I pay a little bit for it because I want to support them. It's a nonprofit, and that gives me a few more features. But the free version is very great. You just point your phone at whatever you're looking at, whether it's a lotion or a shampoo or whatever, and you scan it, and it tells you what's in the product. And one of the things that it gives a bad score for is these parabens that are in there. So when you point and shoot at your shampoo or your lotion or whatever, it'll help you. Yuka gives a score for something from 0 to 100. The higher the score, the better it is. So the closer you get to 100, the more clean the product is. So that's one way, is to just start looking at that. And those parabens are going to show up in sunscreen. They're going to show up in like foundation. They're going to show up in lotion and things like that. So that's one thing you really want to cut out of your life is those kinds of things. And then so that's that's a really good thing to know about your cosmetics. Is one of the things that I always tell people that I'm working with is go through what you use on a daily basis. Because if you're putting something on your skin every day, day in and day out, you want to know whether it has toxic stuff in it. So scan what you've got and give yourself ratings like, hey, these things are okay, these things are terrible, this one's really bad. And then just start replacing the worst ones first. And when you run out, you don't have to go and throw away everything all at once if that's overwhelming to you or it's not in your budget. But just take the ones that are the worst offenders and um, and get rid of those and replace those first. So that's one of the biggies in there is the parabens. And so I wanted to talk about that because how many of us are doing that. The Another big one is fragrance, synthetic fragrance. So all that stuff that smells really good, like flowers and honeysuckle and all that stuff. A lot of that is a synthetic. Those are synthetic fragrances, and those again, not real good for you. They tend to be more of an issue with the liver than they are hormone dysregulators, but still, like, just another good reason to say, hey, we don't want to be slathering on all this synthetic fragrance. So that's another thing. When you use that Yucca app or Yucca app, however you say that, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a good app, however you say it. When you do that, it'll tell you like, hey, there's a better option that doesn't have the parabens and the synthetic fragrances. So that's just a really nice way to say, hey, if it's got parabens in it, you want to ditch it, and because it can mess up your hormones, whether we're talking female hormones, thyroid hormones, um, or the hormones that deal with weight loss like insulin, leptin, and things like that. So use take the app, scan what you've got, ditch the parabens to the best of your ability, and see if that doesn't help. If you're feeling some of these symptoms of like, wow, I'm feeling like I have a little too much estrogen. And then, of course, if you have questions, post them in the comments or the chat. Or if you're not part of our free Q&A group, the Natural Hormone Balance Q&A group on Facebook, join it. And that's a great forum to ask questions about this topic, another topic, something like that. So that we can, I do answer all the questions that I see posted in that group. I try to get in there and interact with people. That's why I started it, because I feel like people have a lot of questions and there's not. Sometimes the internet can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes there's good information on there. Sometimes it's not so good. So I want to be that's my way that I can help, you know, just answer questions and things like that. So if you're not on the Facebook group, join us there. Post a question in the comments, anything like that. I'm glad to answer that. Thanks for watching.